thanks to everyone who's here today. My name is Charissa, and today we'll be discussing the best practices for UX design. But first, let's have an overview of UX design and the difference between UX and UI. So, what is UX design? UX, or user experience, refers to any interaction a user has with a product or service. UX design considers each and every element that shapes this experience, like how it makes the user feel and how easy it is for the user to accomplish their desired task. And just a bit of history, John Norman, the co-creator of Nielsen-Norman Group, coined the term user experience in the 90s. 1993, I think, when he used to work at Apple. His 1988 book, The Design of Everyday Things, remains sort of a UX Bible up to this day. So what I'm trying to say is, John Norman is the UX godfather. Thinking UX and UI are interchangeable is a common mistake among many. They are related, but not the same. User interface is the space where interactions between humans and a product occur, while user experience is an emotional outcome after interactions with a product. And just to illustrate that, here, the ketchup bottle and the mug, that is the UI, while the interactions, the emotions, the story created between the user and the products, that's all UX. A product with a good UI doesn't necessarily mean it also has a good UX. Now that we know what UX design is, let's move on to its best practices. Know your audience. Well, it should come as no surprise that one of the most important factors you should consider when designing a product is the audience. If you plan to design a product your users will love, you must have an idea of what your audience actually wants and needs. Like, you have to know their motivations or their goals, This is why user research is an essential part of the UX design process. It's critical to keep your users in mind before you start designing. This will allow you to provide value for people who use your product and focus on benefits instead of features. So I mentioned UX design process. We're actually not going to go into that. Just know that it can be divided into 4 key phases. That's user research, design, usability testing, and implementation. It is an iterative approach, so that means you might have to repeat or go back to some steps as you go through the process. Don't make personal opinions. All right, so you are not your user, okay? You're not designing for yourself. Your design should be about problem solving and not personal preference or unsupported opinion. If you want to build products that users love, then you have to focus on testing and researching real users. It allows designers to learn how to create products that are right for those who will use them. Adapt design for short attention span. All right, so don't overwhelm users with too much information. Just think more options, more problems. Designers should simplify interfaces by removing unnecessary elements or content that does not support user tasks. A 2015 study conducted by Microsoft found that the average human attention span is 8 seconds. So basically, we now have a shorter attention span than goldfish, okay? So designers need to adjust to cope with this behavior with the goal of getting people the information they need as quickly as possible. Hang on a second. Keep things simple and consistent. The hallmark of a great user interface is simplicity and consistency. In the context of digital products, simplicity means that it's easy to understand and interact with the product. Be consistent with your design. Your user feels comfortable when he or she finds familiar experience while working in your product. Here, I think Apple can simplify this a bit. It's just, overwhelming, right? And here is a good example of simplicity and consistency. Traffic signs. Like, we don't have to know how to read Hangul, which is a Korean alphabet, to know that this is a stop sign. I think it's safe to assume that all over the world, this is pretty much how stop sign looks like. So deviating from such norms is the recipe for confusion that can be dangerous in this case. Make design usable and accessible. Now, this is important. Like, seriously, accessibility, inclusivity, hot stuff, okay? Like, you should design for a diverse set of users that will interact with your products. When it comes to design, designers often obsess over look and appeal instead of functionality and accessibility. Quite often, this leads to a situation where aesthetics become more important for designers than usability. I mean, sure, of course, aesthetics are important, and we should try to make our designs appealing. But that is only after we have usable products, okay? Our products should be more than just a pretty face. A well-designed product is accessible to users of all abilities, including those with low vision, blindness, hearing impairments, cognitive impairments, or motor impairments. Billy Gregory, who's a senior accessibility engineer, said that when UX doesn't consider all users, should it be known as some user experience or sucks? Here are some ways you can make your products accessible. Use descriptive alt tags for images, videos, and other media types. It's also good to have subtitles and transcripts for videos. Another one is avoid color combinations that are known to cause issues for the colorblind. As for the links, like I see this a lot, like, links with just click here. That's not good, because we should instead write descriptive text links that explain exactly what they're clicking on. This will help users with motor impairments, cognitive limitations, or visual disabilities by helping them avoid unnecessary keystrokes to visit a content that is not relevant to them. And for engineers, we should use semantic HTML. So instead of using divs in all elements, you should make it more specific to the content. So that is using HTML tags like header, nav, section, article, footer, just to name a few. Semantic HTML gives context to screen readers, which read the contents of a page out loud. You can find a lot of helpful information on how to make interfaces more accessible in WCAG 2.1 or Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Next, establish a design hierarchy. Having an established design hierarchy does wonders for UI consistency. Whether users are aware of it or not, they instinctively pay attention to the order and priority of the elements they interact with. When it comes to visual in the human eye, some elements take precedence over others, depending on how noticeable they are. Think about your screen visuals in terms of what people will see first, second, third, and so on. This allows UX designers to ensure users find primary functions faster than others. Understand the role of typography. All right, so if fonts are badly legible, people can face problems with navigation, or even worse, they can't or won't use your product at all. The hierarchy of text on the page plays an important role in your user's understanding. It is aimed at creating the contrast between the most meaningful and prominent copy elements, which should be noticed first, and other text information. Like font size, width, color, text structure, all of that matter. Designers can transfer certain mood or message by choosing appropriate fonts and the ways of their presentation. Like here, it shows how using a different typeface can significantly change the meaning of the message. Okay, so let's wrap this up with a quick summary. Like when you put the user at the forefront of your design, you'll create a product that people want to use. The goal of UX design is to create easy, efficient, relevant, and all-around pleasant experiences for the user.